Hey guys, I'm back again. So now it's time to deal with the individual post. So let's do that. So let's go to post. Okay, we have that, and let me just add the first import, which is going to be the use params and use history from React Router. Now use params is going to allow us to get the parameter that we want from the URL, which in this case is the ID. So how we're going to get that? We're going to look for this keyword, which is ID in this case, and we're going to get that. So we're going to do it in a second. Okay, let's make some room there, but we still need some imports. Let me just add those. We need the post service and the map, which is coming from RxJS operators. So that's all we need there. So let's start with the constants. So we're going to use, I don't have that here, use state, and we will use also use effect. Okay, so we're going to set the post in the state, and the first thing in the state is going to be just this empty string. Now again we're going to get the history from the hook, use history, and we're going to get, so let me just type this one, constant. So remember that we're going to use params, which is the new hook. So as I said before, we're going to specify the keyword that we need. In this case is the ID. So this is going to match what we add in this place. Okay, so that's all. And how we're going to call it, we're just going to call it ID whenever we need that. So now I'm going to say use effect. Okay, and make this function. So I will copy and paste the functionality here also, which is again the subscription. We're going to create this constant post subscription. We're going to get the observable from the service using the ID. So you can see that if I use this ID, it means I'm using this one on line 10. So we're going to deal with the stream. In this case, we're just going to pass it as it is. So this is the response, and we're going to return the response data. So in this case, we will not need to use the data because it's going to be now in this form. So let's save that, and we will need one more function, which is the cleaner, that is going to, let's copy and paste that, is going to destroy the subscription or unsubscribe in order to avoid memory leaks. We will need also to add the listener here, or the dependency, which is the ID. Okay, so when the ID changes, it's going to trigger the re-render, but since the ID is going to stay there, then this is going to be fine. It's not going to trigger any re-render that is not allowed, or that we don't want. Now, okay, let me just grab, so let me just define these ones. Constant go back, which is going to be our go back function. So let's say console.log going back, and let me define the constant delete post equals to this function, and console.log delete post. So we will deal with these two functions in a second. So I'm just going to copy and paste what I have inside the fragment so we can move faster. So this is going to be removed, and I'm going to copy, I think, part by part. This div, let me just do that. I don't know. Okay, let me just go back and just this one. No, I didn't want to do that. Just wanted to move it. Okay, there, kinda, just so we can see the separation. So this is the class name data, and it's going to have this button, and you can see now we have this history data location data state, which is going to render. So let me just go to main.js, what we have here in this state. Okay, so if we want to do something there, we could say here console.log, and we can log the history, that location. Okay, so just to see that, just to see what it gives. Okay, so we have that, and later we will need another div, I think. Yep, the post container, which is going to, well, this indentation, which is going to just render the cover, the title and content, and this button, which is going to trigger the delete post. Let me just remove some spaces there. Okay, and save it. No. Control S to save it. So let's take a look at what we have. So you can see, since we already have the style, so it shows. So we don't. Okay, so we have this go back button. Okay, that when we click it, it's not going back because we didn't say that we wanted to go back. We are just consoling that. So let's go to lazy loading, okay, which is the main page, and let's click this one. And you can see we get all the correct information. You can see we have this path name, and this is the location that we are consoling with the path name. Let me just move this and make this bigger, okay, at least a little bit, so you can see the path name. Okay. And we have the state here, which is the ID that we are passing. So you can see we can get history location, which is what we are getting, and we can use that hash, that key, that path name, that search, or that state, whatever we want from there. So in this case, we are consoling here only the state, not consoling, sorry, here we're getting the state, which is the ID. So let's just remove this because it's adding a ton of noise there that we don't want. And let's go back here. So what happens if we want to go back? Then we will use our history, which is already the hook, okay? And we can just say, you can see we have these functions listen, which is what we were using in order to listen for the routes. We can just go back, and you can see we can just go forward. So in this case, using go back is going to return us to the last page we visited. So that is already saved. If I click here, we're going to go here. Okay, so if you start in another page and have a go back, then it's kind of going to work in a different way. So in this case, I don't know how to show you since we don't have the create, but if we start from the create and come here to this page, okay, if I say go back, then it's going to take us to the create, okay, if that makes any sense to you. So now let's just finish this by adding the functionality that we need in order to delete the post, which I'm just going to copy and paste since we saw this in another tutorial. So it's going to say post service. We're going to delete the post, and remember that this ID is the one we have in these params. Okay, so if you want, you can save that in the state, whatever, but right now we're just using it kind of raw from the URL. and then we're going to use history.push in order to take us to the path. Okay, so you can see what it takes, and you can also pass the state. So let's save this. No, for some reason I missed the control button, and it just outputs this. Okay, so go back. We have this, and let's see if it actually works. So let's say delete post, and it's going to take us here, and you can see we only have one. So let me just double check, make this smaller since we've been zoomed in the entire time. So that is actually it for this one. You can see that this is easier than using the match params, and having the hooks here allow us to use any other functionality that we want from the history. So which is the push, which is the go back, go forward, listen, whatever we want, and it looks cleaner in this case. So let me just Control S to save that, and we will continue with the last part of the tutorial. I think it's going to be the last part, but okay, I think yeah, because we already have the styles. So yeah, okay, see you in a second.